that's real numbers. It's 60, 70 cents a mile to drive your car.
And as Clinton Save-A-Lot owner Dave Jackson always says,
hope to see you soon.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube. Brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. My guest in studio today is Caitlin Mellendorf, nutrition educator with University of Illinois Extension in DeWitt, Macon, Piatt counties. Got the 3 counties right this morning. Caitlin, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right. Haven't had Logan, Menard, and Sangamon on in a while, so no confusion coming off the tongue there. Yep. Anyways, hey, it is back to school time, and I know it's always probably top of mind for nutritionists. I know we've got a few others that come on the program talking back to school, talking nutrition, whether we're sending kids to school with lunches that we prepare at home, whether we're sending them to school and they're eating the school prepared meals. Nutrition always top of mind. Where do we start the conversation today?
Absolutely. So I think let's start with if you're going to plan to pack lunches for your kiddos and send them to school, I want to think about nutrition and then food safety, I think are the 2 things we'll start with. So always great to include your kids, especially if they're older, in that discussion about, okay, what are you going to pack? Because then you can have those conversations about nutrition of, okay, we're going to include some chips, but we're also going to pack some fruit, or we're going to pack some chips. So including them in that decision making, a lot of times makes it so that that apple didn't just take a trip to school and back home without getting eaten.
Yeah.
So the goal of hopefully that they can go, well, I picked that out as something that I wanted. Hopefully that'll, encourage them to eat. We always talk about the short duration of lunches for students. And so having things that your students can chew through pretty quickly. So if an apple's a little bit too much effort, either having it pre-chopped or maybe doing something like applesauce where it's much easier. They don't have to chew quite as much to get through that. So think about things that they can get through relatively quickly. Crunchy stuff does take a little bit more time to, chow down on. Something softer like the applesauce or, breads and sandwiches. If you're wanting to do like hot foods, like soups, having things like, chicken noodle soup's a great option in there. So thinking about like, what are those things that they would enjoy adding in? I always invite families to think about convenience as well with that, because especially if you've got multiple kids that you're packing multiple lunches for, doing applesauce cups might be the easy, convenient option rather than pouring applesauce into individual containers. But really up to that family and their budget and their time.
I did this last year at one point. I go to the grocery store and I, meal prep and everything. And I asked you had said, ask your kids what they want, because at the end of the day, it's their lunch, and they know what they want, that sort of thing. So I asked my kids what they wanted, and they said they wanted sushi bowls in their lunch. And I was like, I have watched you eat sushi bowls. You take forever and a day to make it through that. I am not sending that in your lunch, but at least they knew what they wanted, I guess. So yeah. Anyways.
And so you have that discretion as a parent.
Right.
All right,
yeah.
Well, like that sounds awesome, but you also know your kids.
Yeah.
And you know that, like that's maybe a good weekend lunch where they have they can sit for a whole hour if they want to eat on it, versus in school where they may have 20 minutes to really get through their lunch.
Sure.
That makes total sense. Because you'll have that's like kids that get excited, like I'm gonna eat all this, and then you're like, no, I know my kid, and they're not,
yep, exactly. When let's talk about considering, like you mentioned, convenience. While convenience is certainly probably a good idea, there's also convenience where it's not healthy food. It's not they're not getting the protein they need, the nutrition, that sort of thing. I always think of protein. If my kids don't get the protein they need, they're cranky, they're hungry again in less very short time. They're just eating when they get home, that sort of thing. So I want to make sure that it's substantive what I'm sending them. So let's if we can talk about that.
Right. So I'm going to start first with just a quick nutrition primer. So the goal for lunches, we want to include a fruit or a vegetable with those lunches. You can do both if your kids are into really fruits and vegetables, do both. But if they're really just like in a phase of like fruits only or veggies only, at least try to include one. Again, they may not finish it all. That's okay. If they take a couple bites, that's still nutrition in their belly. And then, as you said, a source of protein, so adding in hard-boiled egg, some deli meat, if they, want like peanut butter, if they are more like a peanut butter kind of protein kid, that's great too. And then some source of fiber. So that fiber is going to have, just like the protein, it's going to have that ability to help kind of make the meal feel more full in their bellies. And it's going to have staying power for a couple of hours versus, like you mentioned, they're going to be hungry in an hour. So the way we do that is by adding in plants. So we can have those fruits and vegetables in there. If you're packing something like a sandwich, we can make sure it's got some fiber in maybe the bread, or if you're doing a wrap for your kids, having a fiber with a little bit of wrap to it, or a wrap with a little bit of fiber to it, mix them over there. So with all of that, then when we get into the convenience items, so having like, I know I've already used applesauce a ton today, but even now some companies are adding like fiber to the applesauce. So you can get that a little extra fiber bump, or you can do no salt or no sugar added applesauce. So that way you're making sure that the kids get that thing that they enjoy, but we're just reducing the sugar a little bit. If you're doing some of the pre-packed like sandwich, cracker, make a little mini pizza, or like meat and cheese,
like a lunchable type of thing,
lunchable type of convenience item. Those are going to be good sources of protein, but they're going to be lacking that fiber. So then we're just packing in where is that plant coming from? A vegetable, fruit, so they can get a little bit of extra fiber with that meal, with that convenience. And then for older kids, you may want to be thinking about what snacks that you can pack that are very travel friendly for after school activities, for sports practice, theater practice. And so this can be looking at maybe snack bars. They don't need refrigeration, right? They can just have it there. Or if they are more of I'd rather drink something, maybe looking at maybe like a protein shake in a pack where they can pop open the top. It doesn't need to be refrigerated until it's open. Presumably they can finish it before their practice is over and they go home.
Now, and I know schools are really concentrating on making sure kids get breakfast, right? That's a big one, starting that day off, getting a good meal at breakfast and that sort of thing. For some kids, they're coming to school, they may have ate a small breakfast. I know my kids, if they eat half their breakfast because of the time crunch they put themselves into by lollygagging around. But anyways, if they get half of their breakfast on some days, I'm that's a win for us. So that means by lunchtime they're pretty hungry, and I feel like that makes lunch a very important meal in the day for a child. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, so definitely when we're motivated because we're hungry, that makes it really easy to focus. So having, and this is something that you can talk to your kids' classroom teachers about too, of how is that eating environment? Because if the lunchroom is loud, or there's always the treat of, I can have recess after this for younger kids. So maybe they're less focused on eating and more on, I want to talk to my friends, or I want to go play. And so having that time maybe to talk with our classroom teacher, like, can we talk about maybe like doing recess before? Because they've been running around, they're hungry. They might sit and focus a little bit better for that, for that meal. But having a lot of there's a really big push in the last, I'd say 5-10 years on doing more from scratch, and going back to what I think our generation remembers of like the lunch ladies doing more from scratch cooking. And so having that kind of shift back to, so there's already meal standards, federal meal standards for school meals. So those that are participating in public schools, those lunches are going to meet certain nutrition standards. So you are going to make sure those kids are getting all the things we talked about. They're getting fiber and protein and fruits and vegetables on their tray, so that even if you choose not to pack your lunch, or you want to mix it up and do some packed lunches during certain days of the week and school meals during the other, same for breakfast as well. You're right. If they're coming in, some are doing even like breakfast in the classroom. So even after the bell rings in the morning, kids are able to spend that first 30 minutes or so having breakfast in the classroom, where the teachers are, taking attendance, getting everybody kind of set for, what's the plan for today. So lots of options. And I think it's finding what is going to work for your family. And certainly a mix of all these things is just fine. Doing school lunches, doing packed lunches, having convenience items, having those days where you're like, what, I feel motivated. I'm going to, do a couple of meal prep things from scratch just because I've got time and I'm motivated. Those are all great. Like you'll have those seasons in life where you've got lots of time, and other seasons where it's like, just trying to make sure the kids get fed.
Yep. And I don't know if you I don't remember when you said you graduated, but it felt like when we were in school, lunches were kind of the Wild West a little bit with like just chips and ice creams and lots of like kind of starchy foods at the same time. And it was like and I was just thinking about like high school lunch and like having to go to PE after lunch some years. That was always the worst. Have to run a mile after eating lunch.
I know. I definitely had some periods where I had lunch and then I had gym.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Yeah, right.
And that's a great point about for your older kids, if they have access to those like non-school lunches, they've got a separate stand where they can get the nacho cheese and chips. They can get the stuffed pretzel.
Do they still do those things?
Some schools will.
Yeah. Okay.
And so that's a great conversation for, as a parent or guardian to have that conversation of maybe it's deciding that, okay, if you want to have those, like I'll pay for school lunch, but if you want those, maybe that's money that's coming out of your own pocket for those older students, or having a nutrition discussion about, hey, let's, I'm going to pay for it once a week for you to do that. But the rest of the time it's going to be school lunches or packed lunches, so that they can understand like nutrition is important, but also, it's a social experience, right? Having fun with your friends, having the fun treats, but we also need to focus on nutrition. So you can have those conversations with your kids too about, I'm gonna, like I said, maybe I'll just pay for that one day of I'm trying to remember what we called them. It was like, or some special phrase. It was like, you could do this lunch or you could do the,
I know there was like,
it's going to come to me after the interview.
Yeah. And we always had, there was like the hot lunch line. There was like a line for like sandwiches and chips and stuff like that. And that's usually the one we went through, or I went through. And there was like a pasta bar twice a week, a nacho bar, type of thing. So anyways, the Wild West of the lunch days back in the day, we lived through the best time, I feel like.
We had Pizza Fridays.
Yeah, and Pizza Fridays. Yep,
and
the square pizzas.
Yep.
Yeah. Sometimes we would have like a Pizza Hut would bring us a bunch of pizzas, or like a Papa John's or something like that. Yeah. So those were always fun. Yeah. And you never knew when it was going to happen, so you kind of had to be on your toes. Yeah, for sure. All right, folks don't want to hear us reminiscing about the good old days of lunch. Yeah, maybe they do. I don't know. The good old days of lunches in high school. Caitlin Mellendorf, nutrition educator, University of Illinois Extension in DeWitt, Macon, Piatt counties, is my guest in studio. More to come with Caitlin on the WHOW Morning Show.
WHOW.
Let's check the markets now on the RFD Radio Network. I'm Jim Taylor. Corn, beans, and Chicago wheat all higher at this hour. September corn up 8.5, 445 1/4. December corn up 8 1/4, 468 1/2. March corn 484 1/4, up 8 1/4. September beans up 7, 1158 1/2. November beans up 6.5, 1175 1/4. January beans 1190 1/2, up 6 1/4. September Chicago wheat up 22 1/4, 652 1/2. September KC wheat is up 27 3/4, 727. September bean meal up $2, 307 even. September bean oil down 19 cents, 68.38. Livestock trade August feeders 345.77, down 440. August live cattle down 250, 230.25. August lean hogs down 1/4, 95.62. Energy market October Brent crude oil 88.59, down 32 cents. RFD Radio Network.
AgriTalk is the radio talk show for American agriculture. Hi, everybody. I'm Chip Flory, your host. We join you weekday mornings from 10 until 11 on WHOW, on AM and FM, and on the WHOW streams. We provide farmers and ranchers with timely insights and information aimed at improving their operations. Join me, Chip Flory, weekdays at 10:06 on Central Illinois Ag Station, WHOW.
John Deere is putting in work and putting up highlights.
Oh man, look at those passes. Tillage, planting, harvesting.
3 years in, and these pre-owned machines are still at the top of their game. We're talking reliability, performance, and long-term potential.
And get this, these veteran machines can pick up the latest precision tech with ease.
You know it, and fans ready to add John Deere certified pre-owned equipment and more options to their lineup can shop at machinefinder.com.
Booyah!
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, a good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Caitlin, it's Caitlin Mellendorf, by the way, nutrition educator, University of Illinois Extension, our guest in studio. Let's quickly touch on August, Sandwich Month.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was such a thing.
Right. Yeah, food holidays are just kind of random sometimes.
Yeah, and it's just great.
And we are halfway through the month, but this is when I have time with you, so I thought I'd bring it up. Just about building adding nutrition to our sandwiches. And so this can look like looking at the breads that we include or the wraps that we have and focusing on fiber, which we talked about in the last segment with school lunches. So looking for breads that have maybe 2 to 3 2 to 3 grams of fiber per slice. And that's going to build a nice base for your sandwich. And that can be whole grain breads, but if the taste and texture of whole grain breads is a little bit heavy, or you find it the flavor is a little bit strong, there's a lot of white whole wheat versions or brands that are adding in fiber, so you can get that fiber with more of like a white bread type taste. If that's, again, I'm kind of that way. Some whole grain breads are a little dry, the dry, and they're kind of they got a really strong flavor. So there's options now, which is great. Going along with fiber, adding in veggies. So yes, the lettuce and tomato is going to be a good addition, but if you feel you're wanting something a little different, you can certainly try other vegetables if you want more something like a crunch. So you can add like cucumbers or radishes. There's even there's a trend lately I've been seeing for grilling your vegetables and letting them cool just a little bit before you add them on your sandwich, so you get a little bit of a softer taste, really kind of a meatier kind of sandwich with some heavier vegetables. So eggplants or squash or bell pepper or something a little bit more kind of hearty with that. In terms of protein, we always want to have a protein source on that. So if you're going for meats, so chicken salad, tuna salad, deli meats, or if you're going more vegan or vegetarian, there's a lot of really nice recipes for bean-based kind of like chicken salad substitutes, but using beans in place. Or if you want to go fancy with like a tofu or soy-based protein, it's going to be a good option. And then thinking about, where's that flavor coming from? Are you adding in mayo or mustard? Are you spreading on some pesto? Are you adding in certain flavors of cheese or slices of like avocado or cream cheese or hummus? Where's some of that flavor coming from? Because that's going to be really enticing to wake up the taste buds and say, can add some flavor. And then lastly, just thinking about the texture and the temperature. So if you're like, I've been having these cold deli sandwiches for a while, I'm kind of bored with that. Can it be a grilled option? We've got a really old recipe. I got to go find it somewhere for a grilled tomato, and I think it's like tomato, avocado, and like tuna is like a grilled sandwich, right? So you could add that heat to those sandwiches just to change it up a little bit.
Sure. How do you feel about the fiber or low carb wraps? Like so what do you call those? There's tortillas.
There's a number of those for sure. Really great way to get in fiber. I always caution if you are not used to them, because a lot of those, and even some sandwich slices as well, you're looking at, instead of maybe like 2 to 3 grams per slice, you might be looking at like 8. I've seen up towards of like 20 grams of fiber.
Oh my.
Your daily goal, like across your entire day, it's about 25 to 35 grams. So if you're already starting with one wrap at like 10 or 20 grams of fiber, your digestive system is probably going to go, whoa. And you may have some either like rebound constipation or diarrhea as part of that. So if you're looking for that, try maybe a half of a wrap first, just to see how your system sits. And then you're working up towards that larger amount. But they're a great way because they are very low carbs. So you're getting in that fiber for folks managing blood sugar. Great addition to support that.
I don't want to overlook this. It's fresh produce season. The markets are popping up with all the tomatoes and the corn and the cucumbers and the peppers. Yeah, so good. What do you think?
Good.
Yeah,
so good. So I think this is the great time of year to really highlight checking out your local farmers markets, your local roadside stands. I'm seeing a lot of those lately. I think that we finally got enough heat. The spring was kind of cool, but we've gotten some heat lately. So all those things are just going. So it's a great time to explore because you're going to get that really awesome flavor. Sweet corn out of season, tomatoes out of season in the middle of winter. They're just not going to have that same brightness and freshness that you're going to get locally. And then also you're supporting your local growers and just even your backyard gardeners that are making just a little side hustle with a little extra money for their crops that they're growing, and you're getting to hopefully meet people in your community that are growing these things. And then if you have questions about how to preserve those, I was telling you off air that I stopped at a roadside stand selling sweet corn, and a woman wanted to buy 80 ears of corn. So she's planning to freeze those. I got to talk to her just briefly. So if you have questions on preserving those or what things to do with them or how to store your different foods, even if you're not going to preserve them later, I invite you to come check out our extension website, so extension.illinois.edu, for a variety of different just recipes and tips and blogs and all the things. If you're looking for something specific, do a search for it and it's probably there.
What do you look forward to most in the produce aisle this time of year?
Ooh, sweet corn.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's like frozen corn, canned corn during the off season is totally fine. I make, we make some good stuff with that. But when it's sweet corn season, I make sure we've got it on our plate once a week.
Yep, for sure. Very good. Caitlin, anything we didn't get to today you want to put out there for us? I got about a minute with you still here.
Ooh, we got some time. So why not we could talk about all that produce. So let's do a quick, how much do we need? How many fruits and vegetables should we be getting in? So there's a really old 5-a-day campaign that still is really applicable. So your goal of about 1 to 2 servings of fruit per day and about 2 to 3 servings of vegetables per day for adults. For kids, obviously smaller portions, but thinking about having a fruit or vegetable at every meal and trying to get in some maybe as part of like snacks between meals. A great way to add in lots of fiber, lots of vitamins and minerals. There's some information on research around antioxidants, those color pigments in those fruits and vegetables, really supporting health. Really always a good thing to do. And you don't have to just sit and eat carrot sticks. You can have fun with your vegetables.
Sure. Very good. Well, Caitlin, always a fun time of year. Always good discussion. How do folks follow? I don't know if you're doing any blogging or have some upcoming classes. How do folks find what you've got going on?
Yeah, so we're going to got another round of sourdough classes for the fall. So everyone can follow along on Facebook and Instagram or our website at go.illinois.edu/DMP for Do It, Make, and Payette, or they can come visit us in office.
Very good. Caitlin, always good to see you. Thanks for making time for us.
Thanks.
Caitlin Mellendorf, nutrition educator, University of Illinois Extension in DeWitt, Macon, and Payette counties, our guest in studio here for this morning. The morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Network news comes your way now.
WHOW.
The Big